Hello everyone and welcome back to Deck Tech for Decks. Today we're taking a look at the partner combo Pako and Haldan. I really like this deck because all you have to do is ramp to Oblivion, protect your best boy, and then play your opponent's deck. And then the power level will be whatever the power level your opponents are playing at. That way it's a fair game and everybody's having fun. Well, kind of. This deck is extremely budget and extremely powerful just because the nature of the commanders and what they do. So without further ado, let's get into the deck tech. We do run some cards that synergize with casting cards from Exile because we're going to be casting a lot of cards from Exile. We are running Feldorn Dreadwolf Herald. I like this one because it can create a board state and it can kind of let you filter through your deck a little bit. Keeper of Secrets is just going to do a lot of damage throughout the game. My boy Nauf here, I don't really want to attempt to pronounce that name. This guy's going to double up on everything we cast from Exile. Passionate Archaeologist, this is another one that's just going to do a lot of damage throughout the game. And then lastly we have the Lost and the Damned. This is another one that can create a board state as long as we're casting spells from Exile. The most important thing we need to do in this deck is protect our best boy. We also need to make sure he gets through because he's going to be big. It'd be a shame to waste all that damage. So this category does a little bit of both. We have Aqueous Form. This is going to make him unblockable and we're going to scry every time he attacks. Tamiyo Safekeeping, this is just going to give him indestructible and hexproof until end of turn. We have your classic Swiftfoot Boots. Key to the City, we're going to go ahead and discard a card and a creature can't be blocked this turn. Additionally, when we untap Key to the City, we can go ahead and pay 2 and draw a card. Prowler's Helm is going to make him unblockable except for walls, and we all know people play a ton of walls. Rancor is really good, it's just going to give him +2 and trample, and additionally, whenever we lose our commander, Rancor will just come back to our hand. Protective Bubble, not only is this going to make him unblockable, but it's going to go ahead and give him Shroud also. Oh, Naginata. This is going to give him +3 and trample, so that's going to make him a 6/3 right out of the gate. Gaia's Gift. This one's really versatile because we can use it to either protect him or end the game, right? Maybe we got to get through on one of our opponents, we can go ahead and give him trample and +1. Or, you know, someone's targeting him, we can give him hexproof or indestructible. Both really good options. Let's take a look at some of the supporting cards of the deck. We have Brainstorm. This one's really good because we're going to know what we're going to be exiling from the top that we're going to be able to play. Wilderness Reclamation. We're running this for 2 primary reasons. 1, we have a lot of lands in the deck. 2, this is going to allow us to take our full turn and cast instant spells on our opponent's turns, right? Not only will it give us additional mana to cast any instant spell that we exiled on our turn, but it opens us up to use our counter spells. We are running Unwinding Clock for the same reason, right? There are a lot of mana rocks that get played in Commander, so I guarantee you we're going to be exiling a few of them, casting a few of them, and we'll be able to take our turn on our opponent's turns. So that's going to be really fun. Additionally, we are running Alchemist's Refuge just because we can flash something stupid in right before our turn and our opponent's not going to have time to act. Font of Magic. This is really good because we are running a partner pair. So if we cast Pako and then cast Haldan, that's going to automatically lower all of our instant and sorcery spells by 2 mana, which is going to be really useful and it's going to save us a lot of mana throughout the game. Wolfgar of Icewind Dell. Now, it is a creature and we don't run much creatures in the deck because if you exile them, they're kind of just gone. But this guy's worth running because if we do get him on the battlefield, it's going to double up on our commander's ability and we're going to exile 8 cards that turn, which is pretty insane. Lastly, we are running Jotzi, mostly for this sorcery side, but honestly, if it gets late game, it's going to be really easy to bounce this to our hand, cast Jotzi, and then just start casting spells from the top of our library, which is going to be really fun. Additionally, it's going to make sure all of your lands stay off the top of your library, so you're always drawing gas. Alright guys, let's get into the ramp and buckle up because there is a lot of it. Let's get it started with Escape to the Wilds. I think this card is kind of underplayed and honestly it's really good because it lets you play the exiled lands. Let's say you've exiled 2 lands, right? Well, it's going to let you play an additional one so you can play both of those lands and then you can cast those cards until the end of your next turn. So even if you get unlucky and let's say exile 5 land cards, that's going to open up your library because you are going to be screwed for the next 5 turns anyway, and you're going to get to play 3 out of the 5 of those lands. Mana Geyser. Let's be honest, no one leaves mana open. Everyone's always tapping out, and you're going to add a ton of mana to your mana pool using this. We are running Explore. I normally don't include these cards in my decks because they can whiff quite often, but we are able to play the lands that we exile, so I don't see them whiffing in this deck. Along that, we are running Growth Spiral, and an insane one, we are running Summer Bloom. Let's not forget the classics with Rampant Growth, Cultivate, and Kodama's Reach. Harrow, Migration Path. We are also running some cards that let us play additional land, such as Druid Class and Mina and Din. I wanted to give Guild Artisan a try. I know I could just include more green ramp, but honestly this one sounds pretty fun. Because remember, although you're only thinking, oh well, you'll attack with Pako every turn, we do have Haldan. So in a scenario where we can attack the guy with the most life with both of them, we're going to go ahead and create 4 treasure tokens. That sounds pretty good to me. Tireless Provisioner is also going to give us a lot of mana because we are going to be playing a lot of lands, right? So it's perfect in the deck. Lastly, we are running all 4 Signets and Soul Ring. Again, they're just really efficient ramp. I know people kind of knock including the Signets in green decks, but honestly, whenever you draw a Signet in your opener, you kind of feel like a god. Alright guys, let's check out this card draw. I'm running Return of the Wild Speaker because I want to abuse our commander's power for card advantage. With that, we are also running Rishkar's Expertise and Hunter's Insight, along with Soul's Majesty. This is going to let us draw a lot of cards judging on our commander's power, which remember, our best boy is going to get pretty big. We also include the classics like Faithless Looting. Again, if you draw this in your opener, you feel like you're pretty much set up for the next couple turns. Snake Umbra, not only is this going to protect our commander, but it's going to go ahead and give him an extra source of protection. Tatiova Benthic Druid. We are playing a lot of lands, so she's going to draw us a lot of cards throughout the game. And now, let's talk about what I think is the best card in the deck. We have Song of Creation. I think this is one of the only commanders that can abuse this card to its fullest. Because yes, it's going to make you discard your hand every turn, but think about it, our hand is in exile. We don't care if we don't have a hand. This is going to let you play an additional land on each of your turns, and whenever you cast a spell, you're going to draw 2 cards. This card is insane and perfect in the deck. Alright guys, let's go over some of this removal, and it gets pretty spicy. We are running Expel from Orozga. This is going to go ahead and return a non-land permanent to our opponent's hand. But if we have the City's Blessing, we can return it to the top of their library. And then we're going to exile it with Haldan, and whatever we didn't like is now ours. Temporal Spring is going to do relatively the same thing, while Hinder is just going to go ahead and counter a spell and put it on top of your opponent's library. So whatever they were trying to destroy our little best boy with, we now get. Lastly, we have Memory Lapse. It's going to do basically the same thing. Then we have your more traditional counter spells with Counterspell and Negate. Next up, let's talk about permanent removal, because we can't still everything. We have Beast Within, Chaos Warp, Crossing Grip, and finally, Broken Bond. Broken Bond is really good because it's going to let us play an additional land, which we are basically always going to be able to do. Don't forget Plasm Capture. This is the poor man's mana drain, and I've had it win games for me. We are running some board wipes with Chain Reaction, Blasphemous Act, and finally a kind of messed up one, Consuming Tide, because honestly all we need is Pako and Haldan, so we can bounce Haldan to our hand, keep Pako on the board, and then just recast Haldan and we're good to go. Alright guys, that's going to do it for the deck tech. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps me out. The engagement helps the video do good. And honestly, I'm going to plan to do some of these budget decks once a week, so if you like it, stick around.